It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. And I'm so glad to be yo neighbor. Hey, welcome to PopCast, a crowd-sponsored yo-yo show. My name is Dr. Popular. This is the 21st episode of PopCast, and it also happens to be my birthday, which means I've been yo-yoing for 21 years. So I went to Patreon, which is where all my backers are. Huge shout out to Jeff Atwood and Greg Knowles and all the rest of the backers, and they decided branding. So this episode of PopCast, we're going to talk about a trick I created 16 or 17 years ago called branding. But before we do, let's do an unboxing. Ow, ow.
There we go. That's what we needed.
This unboxing is Old School Throws, a Resto, which is just a real sharp looking yo-yo right there. Oh wow, this thing's crazy light. Oh, this is neat. It's super thin. Like, it's got a really unique profile to it. That is such an unusual shape. I bet it fits, yeah, it fits good in the pocket. The other yo-yo they sent me is this guy, which I don't know the name of.
Doc.
Yeah, see? This thing, I don't know the name of it. It looks like the collaboration they might have done with ART in Canada. This is just a kind of a normal old school yo-yo. I mean, it's called Old School Throws. It is a very high wall in the center, which is very interesting. It comes with a concave, definitely heavier feeling than the other yo-yo is. It is also pretty small compared to most yo-yos. Not an undersized, but kind of a big difference there. So, big thanks to Old School Throws for donating a yo-yo to one of my Patreon sponsors. And this was actually a trade that I did, a bolt for one of these things. I think this is a good trade. Thanks for watching. Okay, so this episode of PopCast, we're going to talk about a trick called branding. Branding was originally inspired by this really silly, easy move that Brent Dillinger did in all of his freestyles. Now, Brent was a national yo-yo champion like 2002 to like 2020. I mean, it just seemed like a lot of years. And he had this one move that was this just over-the-hand whip. It was super easy, and I was there for it. I mean, I just loved this trick. We were doing it under our legs. We were doing doubles. It was just a really flashy trick to do on stage and just fun. In particular, my friend Brandon and I, Brandon Moreau, would do this trick all the time and just kind of show each other weird variations of Brent Dillinger's trick. And eventually I stumbled upon a version that was mounted on the string. So Brent's version was never mounted. Branding ended up being a 1.5 mount. You whip it around, you catch it again on a 1.5 mount. Since I knew Brandon would love it, I made the trick after him, Brandon, but eventually added the G, and the trick became known as Brandon G. Branding. Let's talk about branding and some of my favorite variations. So this is branding. It's basically that 1.5 mount with the cool flip. It's something really easy to tie into just about any trick. You'll see branding thrown into a lot of combos, especially recently. Before we get into branding, let's actually start with the Brent. You remember the trick I was talking about earlier, the trick Brent did to death? This is the Brent, and it's actually a really good way to get started into branding because it's going to be the same idea. The basic idea is you're going to go over your wrist, and you're really going to leave as much room as possible between the string here and the string here. So I have it draped over my wrist. This way you can really get a big opening. You'll also notice when I'm doing it, not only am I going around the yo-yo, that's kind of the basic motion, I'm bringing my left finger really close to my hand. Now, of course, you can do double under the leg. I mean, this is what we were talking about. He was goofy with this. He was just doing it all the time. I love it. It's so fun. So that's a core movement for branding. Let's talk about branding. So to do branding, start with the 1.5 mount, hook your finger. So now the string's going to fall off your finger and you're going to leave that hooked. You're going to move the yo-yo up and behind the yo-yo. So I just do that with a simple hop. Then you're going to bring your hands across. You're just kind of changing your hands. Move the yo-yo back, so from here to this string. Then pop it back to a 1.5 mount. And what you'll notice now is the strings are all wrapped on top of the finger, which is going to make that move easier. So you can actually do branding just from a 1.5 mount. The thing is, it's kind of surprisingly hard to hit. So basically all of this setup is really just doing the function of putting these strings on top of the finger so that when you unhook, you're back to normal. It's very similar to what we were talking about too with the Brent. What's going to happen is doing this motion and setting up the trick is going to really make that easier to hit. It's going to open up that loop, where once you do it from here, the loop gets smaller and smaller each time and it wraps around your finger. So once again, it's 1.5 mount, hook your finger, hop the yo-yo over, move your hands, catch it, pop it back in a 1.5, and whip. One of the easiest ways to set up branding, just to do just the whip, is just to go around and just move your finger. So I'm already in that 1.5 whip. So all I did, instead of catching straight to here, I just moved my finger behind, whip. That's the easiest way to do the whip, is just bam, 1.5, just so the strings are on top. Another variation that I like to do is a 1.5 that faces towards me. So it goes around, I'm on the inside, and I'm catching a 1.5 here, and then I'm continuing around and hitting. So at full speed, that looks like this. And you'll notice when you do that, you have a little twist here, which is fine, whatever. Another variation is bam. And that one's a little more complex, right? So the setup is around, kind of like a 1.5, but you're going to hook and you're going to mount a 1.5 here. So that's bam. You're going to follow through to the right, let go, and undercut, and just move it over. So now you're in on a 1.5 with this great big hoop. That's super easy to catch. From the move we just did, if you go around an extra time around this side and then do your undermount, now you've actually got a double setup. So again, that's just catch, go around, 1, 2. And that can also be done as one quick motion where you go all the way twice around. You can actually even do this 1, 2, even 3 or 4 times. And when you do your 1.5 mount, now you've got all this extra string, so you can do as many of these as you want. So you can keep that going just by going around extra times. 1, 2, 3, undercut, hit, bam, bam, bam. One more variation on the right-handed branding, and then we'll actually do a non-throw hand branding, which is super cool. This one, I like to start with the trapeze, pull over, and then I'm going to go to my right side and catch over here. And then I'm going to go around, undercut, and mount. And now we are set up for the double branding. So again, that's trapeze, pull, catch, go around, undercut, bam, bam. That move right there is the bomb, especially because it set you up for a double. Okay, and finally, I'm going to show you the newest variation of branding. It's a left-handed branding. It took me a while to figure out, but I love this trick. So that's kind of a long combo of left-handed branding. Let's just break it down to just its most fundamental move. Trapeze. I'm going to put my thumb here, and I'm going to swing the yo-yo to my left and undercut. So I'm just removing the string. Then I'm going to bring my hand back over and mount it. Now I'm set up for branding. And if your thumb's not in there, if your thumb's not hooked, you're not going to catch a branding. You're basically just going to catch, well, just nothing, right? So you really need your thumb in there to make sure that that's going to hit. And then from there, I do a pop out, which we covered in the last episode, and you are good to go. So fresh. Okay, I've got one more branding I just made up last weekend. I really dig it. I'm still working on it. It's called top rocking, and it looks like this. It's a back and forth branding. Trying to get it where I can b-boy too with it. So this one is a tough one, but let's see if I can teach this. It's brand new, so I'm still even getting the hang of it. It's going to be a 1.5 mount. You're going to bounce to change the direction, and when you change the direction, you're going to go around into a sun and catch. So let's do that again. You're going to go bounce around into that. Here, out, flip, catch, repeat. You'll notice when I do it too, I tend to bounce a little bit. That actually makes it easier if you kind of go towards the left and then go towards the right. It just seems to give me a little more time to hit that move. And it looks different. So bounce, catch, around, catch, bounce, catch, around, catch. And that's top rocking. All right, that's enough branding. Let's go. I hope you liked this episode of PopCast. I want to see what variations you come up with of branding. So if you use the Instagram, use hashtag PopCastYoyo, PopCastYoyo, and share your branding variations or anything else you've learned in an episode of PopCast. I love seeing what you're doing and want to feature more of your videos in future videos. So tag it PopCastYoyo. Also a reminder, I am on Patreon, patreon.com/DocPop. That's how this show gets made. This month's yo-yo giveaway is the Resto from Old School Throws, which we unboxed earlier. So we're giving one of these away to one of the Patreon sponsors. You get automatically entered when you sign up and help support the show. Also, you get 10% off of yo-yos such as the Weekender and the Icarus and the Bolt and all the rest of the yo-yos on my website. You get 10% off if you go to patreon.com/DocPop and sponsor at any level. Thanks for watching. Word to your mother. Be sure to smash that space bar and like and subscribe to someone. We'll see you soon.